for the participants to join on.
Yes, we should wait a little more.
Actually,
I
I
think.
just give a
Yes, I think
Are
we
you
should
able
wait.
to see my screen?
Yes. We can see. We can see.
Sure. Great.
Actually, we are very sorry that we had to bother you today. And in fact, we had already
No worries.
yeah, we already had informed to some of the students, and in fact, found that it's not taking place today. So I don't know how many students will join, but still we can definitely continue with the session. Uh, we are in fact very much fortunate that despite all the challenges and the health issues that you're facing.
No, I sincerely apologize. After last plan was also cancelled, so I just somehow made my was able to take my time because it was my responsibility.
Right. Okay. I think we can keep it brief today.
Yeah.
Yes, we can keep it brief and we can have a much more elaborate session later on when
Great.
you are in a much better frame of mind to have a better presentation and deliberation with regard to innovation entrepreneurship. We can have that later on. Yes.
Great. Am my voice clear? Is my voice clear?
It's yes, a little bit of noise, but yes, so we can hear it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll start. Shall I start the presentation?
Before the presentation gets started, I would request one of my colleague, Sosang Liani ma'am, to kindly introduce her.
yes,
There?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. A very good afternoon to all the participants and Jyoti Prakash sir. And we are happy here. Yeah, thank you for having us. And I would like to introduce Jyoti Prakash sir. That Jyoti Prakash sir is GPM from IIM Lucknow and engineer from BIT Mesra. So Prakash sir has a cumulative work experience of 13 years with about of 10 years in startup investments and fundraising. And Prakash's last stint was for the last 2 years was he was the vice president for a Singapore headquartered venture capital fund. And then sir has also worked for 3 private equity and venture capital funds and also for a fintech startup from bootstrap stage which raised multiple rounds of funds. And Georgia Prakash sir has a stint of assistance with Mindtree as a management consultant for their big data analytics division as a software engineer with etc. So, sir, we are very grateful to have you, and then we hope that you will give us some ideas and some ideas about innovations and intellects. So we are looking forward for your lectures, and you may please take over.
Sure, ma'am. Please accept sincere thanks for the introduction. It's a great opportunity to provide the presentation to esteemed audience of EDPU, Assam Downtown University. I'll request that if I can structure the presentation with the status of the startup ecosystem in India and very brief about the business plan. We help startups raise funds. We also invest in companies. Whenever we talk to the founders, there is also always a bottleneck of the story not coming out cleanly in the pitch deck. So I'll merge both topics maybe in this session for next 45 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes, and then we can look forward to the next sessions as well. So I'll start the presentation with the first slide. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yes, audible.
So, sure. So, as we can see on the slide, India is now the third largest ecosystem in the world after the US and China. China is the largest economy as far as the innovation and the ecosystem of startup is concerned, followed up by Southeast Asia and then India. US is around 20 years ahead of us. The business models which were launched in US, such as Amazon, in the 1990s, were then launched in India with the name such as Flipkart and others, and got similar success because as the economies move forward, the emerging economies catches the trend of the developed economies such as US in terms of per capita GDP, in terms of earning potentials, in terms of use of technology. So as mobile phones started penetrating the Indian market, e-commerce business models saw surge, and there a lot of investments happened, and it was one of the most glorious exits of Flipkart that the Indian startup ecosystem saw. So I started investments from year 2012. At that point of the time, Flipkart was also a 5-year-old company. We were investing in a company called Local Bania, which was a competitor of Basket at that point of time. Both companies were doing well in the western suburbs of Mumbai. The key challenges at that point of the time was that penetration was not very simple. People were not used to order online. Brick and mortar was still a prevalent economy in terms of or a sort of mode to purchase for the retail economy, if I may state. However, the companies offer a lot of discounts to generate the market, and that's how they were able to propagate further. So we'll take detail about this as we move forward. 44 Indian startups have achieved unicorn status in 2021, taking that overall tally of unicorn to 83. So more than half of the unicorns have come up in 1 year itself. Unicorn status is the status when the company achieves a valuation of $1 billion or more. It's not the revenue; it's the valuation, which is generally multiple of revenue. Also, other aspects such as infrastructure development, the potential to scale are taken into consideration. So the growth potential, which is defined by valuation, states that as the unicorns are larger, the value generated or the potential to generate value in the ecosystem is also higher. The total number of recognized startups in the country surpassed 61,400 in 2022. So the number of startups are significantly and there is a good contribution to gross domestic product because of the increasing number of startups in India. If I may go to the next slide, the opportunities for students, faculties, and entrepreneurs. So India as a country offers a tremendous opportunity to the startup ecosystem. The first being the availability of a large talent pool seeking to be entrepreneurs. The trend earlier was seen in IT company. India went into the world map because of the growth potential of the IT company or technology company. And because of the English-speaking talent pool that was available at that point of time, India was able to make a mark in outsourced technology services. Similarly, one of the key aspects of startups is to get the availability of talent pool, and India has an ample amount of talent pool available. I'd like to portray what is the difference between a manager and a CEO and a founder, and then maybe the context of this point would be more relevant. A manager could be a person who has a set of
Sir,
yeah.
excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So actually, there's a lot of noise actually.
Okay,
Coming. So
I'll log it from my mobile.
Okay. That would be great. Yeah.
Yes, am I audible? Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Yes, audible.
Sure. So is it more audible now?
Yes, 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 yes. It is better. It is better.
Yeah, yeah. So uh, uh, yeah. So I was trying to substantiate an example. What is the difference between a manager, a CEO, and a founder? A manager is a person who has set goals and resources. So, for example, if I am a manager at Tata Motors, I have a set resources where I can produce engines, and I have a goal that I need to produce 5 engine per day. So I have people with me. I have steel. I have equipments. I have a capability to produce one engine per 2 hour, so that I can produce 5 engine in 10 hours in a day. That was defines a role of a manager, and if he is able to produce 5 good engines per day using utilizing his resources and meeting his goals, he's a good manager. A CEO is a person who has resources and he needs to generate goals. If I go and become a CEO of Maruti, I'll have set resources in terms of people. I have resources in terms of infrastructure, in terms of equipments, in terms of customers, and I need to generate goals that I'll increase revenue by 10% next year. I'll enter into new market. I launch a new product. A founder is a person who has a goal and he needs to create resources. So when a founder starts a company, he doesn't have any resources. Maybe his idea is only in PowerPoint, but he has a goal to generate a revenue of maybe $1 million in next 3 years, and then he generates resources pertaining to that goal. So he breaks his goal into vision and mission statements that he will start his company maybe in if I may say, a fintech startup will he'll offer a payment solution. Then he'll further define his mission that he'll charge customers as a commission on per transaction that is happening on his payment gateway, and he'll raise funds. Or he'll generate customers. Either the customers will pay to him or the investors will pay to him. The cash that he has in the bank will be utilized to employ people, will be utilized to get office, will be utilized to get software. So he'll generate resources from the initial goal that he has. So there is a profound difference between what is a founder, a CEO, and a manager. So if we see availability of large talent pool seeking to be entrepreneurs, uh, there's a difference between a large talent pool seeking to work for an IT company, become a CEO of an IT company, and being entrepreneurs. Now there is a change in mindset where people are willing to take initiatives. They are willing to generate goals, and they are willing to generate resources to achieve that goal. So that is a profound difference or trend that we can see. If we see the next point, favorable regulatory environment. So now the government supports startup initiatives. Startup India initiative was launched in 2016. There are Niti Aayog schemes, Atal-backed incubators, education institutes around the country are backed by government institutes. I'm uh, uh, I believe Assam Downtown University is also backed by government, if I am not wrong. And the initiatives are there.
Yes, yes. We are assisted by Ministry of Electronics and IT through TIE 2.0 scheme. Yes.
Great, great.
Yeah.
So the kind of initiatives, fundings that the government supports creates a lot of difference. We recently raised a fund for an electric vehicle company. Almost all commercial funds didn't give fund to the company. We were raising fund for the company, and we are also a bit hesitant to sign the mandate because the company was founded by a CA, and they were into electric vehicles, which was a technology-oriented company. The CA was very young. He told that he was passionate towards technology. he has visited US and he has come back and he wants to do something in electric vehicle space. So we believed on his conviction and we signed the mandate and we raised funds from him. And the fundraising was easy initially because the government of India fund backed him. So the process is very clean, very high quality capital. A small pool of capital he got in, and he was able to develop his product and his team. And now commercial funds are also talking to him to for the next stage of growth. So there is certainly a boost to the economy of startups uh, because of the push or the initiatives taken by government of India. Uh, the third point I would like to state is that now corporations are building an ecosystem. These corporations are generally very traditional. Uh, they hesitate a bit to experiment or launch new products, which, if doesn't find a market fit, may result in bit of cash depletion. So they associate with startups who are already doing something very interesting in that area, and uh, where the startups can provide disruptive technologies. Disruptive here would be a technology that can rearrange the current market landscape or sector orientation. And the startup gets an hand-holding from experienced team, mature system from the large corporations. So this is a very, very fruitful relationship. We have seen startups getting associated with some of the large companies. These startups do not generally have capability to spend on sales and marketing. We had invested in a company into robotics. They did not have the cash to uh, uh, build large number of robots to market it in different geographies. The company was a listed company with which it got associated. They offered them their infrastructure, their equipments, where the startup can produce goods, and they only focused on R&D. And the marketing arm of the mature company was also utilized. So the new robotic product was a cross-sell product that the mature company used. So it was great to see the startups go ahead and mature companies also benefiting from the ecosystem. So these are the opportunities that the current ecosystem provides for a student who is looking to launch an initiative. Governments have a lot of schemes. There are a lot of incubators around the country. Faculties have a lot of incentives now. We are associated with or some of the startups from IIT Madras as well, where the students and the professor uh, make a startup. The professors have a lot of, with due regards, information and knowledge that they can provide to the startup. The students have the energy and the willingness to move ahead. So it's a great combination. The faculties also have opportunities to provide mentorship. Almost all incubation centers in academic institution in India have faculties backing up the startups with their mentorship skill. And the opportunities for the entrepreneurs we just discussed is the whole ecosystem that is providing them a push, such as corporations, regulatory environments, talent pool. Are you able to see my slide? Yeah, sure.
Yes, I can see.
I'll write. Sure. So if we talk about incubation opportunities, the educational institutes, R&D institutions, non-profit organizations are seen driving this agenda with the help of state governments. As you mentioned that Assam Downtown University is also collaborating with government to help incubate the startups. This we are seeing almost all academic institutions. Some of the best startups that have come to us to raise funds are from these academic institutions as well. So it's a great opportunity for the industry to associate with the institutions uh, to to help startups grow. I recently visited one of the Eastern India state. They are doing very well in promoting startups, and some of the great startups were there. Uh, in terms of what is being done in NCR, what is being done in Bangalore, what is it done being done in Mumbai. The same was being done over there with the small ecosystem that they have. But it was enough for a startup to move ahead. They have a first mover advantage, and it was great to see the entrepreneurs thriving well and the ecosystem backing them up. Creation of state-run incubators backed by Niti Aayog. Now, Niti Aayog is helping the incubators in academic institutes to get grant from the government for 5 years. They provide about 1.5 million to launch the incubator, to provide facilities such as Maker's Lab, to provide facilities such as funding support. Also, they help the incubators launch Startup India Fund, where small funds, either in form of debt or equity, can be offered. The company, or if I may state, the company which seeks to raise capital from the Startup India Fund are seeking very clean capital, and the cost of capital is very low. So the one some of the debt that we have raised from the Startup India funds, if I may state, they have a very fairly low interest rate in single digit, which is helping them a lot in manufacturing of their products. And in terms of equity, also, if the incubator takes equity, they provide a lot of support uh, to these startups. So these are lowering the odds of establishing successful startups. When we had started investing, if I may state, in 2012, at that time, mostly the dependence was on commercial funds, also on angel investors. Now, government contributing equally is offering a lot of value to the startup ecosystem at an early stage. Incidences of the next round of funding by the startup have been on rise, signaling the dawn of the mature investment phase. Again, we have seen an ecosystem being evolved of the investors. Earlier, the process was more on a basis of gut feeling because the industry was not there. As some of the startups proceeded forward, as some of the startups saw the growth and the success, they also defined the rules of investments. So earlier it was more focused on if the investor feels that a company in US is doing good, a similar company in India can do good. Now investor can relate much more to the concept of Bharat, where he analyzes demography. He analyzes that if a company is launching a food product, for example, a Goli Bada Pav, which is now $100 million company, got success because it has potato at its ingredient. A potato is seeked favorably across India. Had this been a Sri Lankan market or a market in Mid East, maybe this product would not have done so well. So now investors can relate themselves to the demography, the taste, the culture, the concept of Bharat, how the product itself can be a right fit to the market, how the unorganized market in India could be organized digitally, how the propensity of a company moving forward can help in reduction of cost and in increase of revenue. The fundamentals of unit economics are now much more sought after than investment process. These are some of the insights that I would like to highlight. How the thought process of the investors have also changed, which is now evolving a separate investment sectoral advantage, if I can say. Sure. So, as conveyed to Mr. Sharma earlier, I had requested for this session to be till 4:15 because of my health reasons. A bit, I'm not able to fully, was not able to fully get time from 3:30 to 4:30. So I'll finish it at 4:15. Still have 15 more minutes to go.
Sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure,
So
sure, sir. Sure.
we still have 15 minutes to go. We have some interesting topics coming up that I'd like to share. Some of the challenges of the startup ecosystem that we have seen, uh, across many companies, whether the company is at the stage where the founder is forming a concept note, sorry, or if the company is at stage where it has founded up a product market fit, or if the company is at stage where it has a seed fund or Series A fund or even Series B fund. Uh, the first challenge that the company has at any stage is the revenue generation. Uh, so it's very difficult for any company in India to get consistently get the revenue where customers pay them. The best companies are those who don't raise funds from outside. If we see the one of the best startups in India, if I may state, the Infosys, when it was led by Mr. Narayan Murthy, the way the founder stated that they did not take fund from outside initially because it would have changed the culture of the company. The culture of the company or the genesis of the company was laid on the foundations of an ethical approach, honesty, integrity, tendency of the company to return the capital back to the investor, to give at least 4x of the value to the customer and take 1x or 2x of the cash or fees from them. So such solid foundations help the company to grow and make it a very, if I may say, fundamentally strong company. Uh, at one point of the time in 2000 to 2007, Infosys was sought after over Accenture and IBM in India because of the culture it provided and the ethos it provided to its employees, to its customers, to its stakeholders in terms of shareholders, vendors, partners. So what I wanted to state is that if the cash in the company is coming from the customers rather than the investor, that is the best company. The best company is the company which is bootstrap. It is our inability which leads to the dilution of the company in terms of offering stake. If if I may say, if a $1 billion company founds another company today, he will bring a lot of infrastructure. If there is successful automobile company or a taxi aggregator company, for example, Ola, Blue Smart, and others, and if the founder again starts a company in mobility segment, he'll bring with him a network. He'll bring him with him a know-how of business. He'll bring with him an already established partner base. He'll bring with him loyal employees. So he doesn't need to go out and raise funds. He already has an infrastructure in place. He doesn't need to have a CTO or a co-founder, and he can get good results from the company in first 3 4 years. However, if there is a new founder who doesn't have a know-how, who doesn't have a network, he will look for a co-founder. So maybe he'll provide 50% stake to a co-founder and dilute himself. So the first inability is not having enough infrastructure resources, and he's diluting himself. And then the company finds a product market fit where he conceptualizes the product and test it in the market if the market is accepting it or not. Uh, Generally, 33% of the process is similar for all companies. Most of the companies find initial taste of initial 20,000 or 50,000 rupees. Post that, if there is an inability to scale, then they will require further infrastructure in terms of sales and marketing processes, in terms of putting more effort on R&D to create more value for the customers, and then they will require funds. So the co-founders or the founder has already diluted 50% to the co-founder, then he raise funds from the external VCs and dilute more of the company. So these are the challenges which companies faces, and the solution is to make a shared economy. So the founder creates a co-founder, then there's an investor who is coming up, then there's a vendor mentors, and then the shared economy, if I may state, help in creation of revenue generation. Some of the infrastructure can also be offered by incubators because no accelerators and incubators. are playing some key roles in offering a lot of value to the startups, which the startups may not get individually. These incubators are associated with investment banks. These incubators are associated with VC funds, also legal teams to structure the company, consulting firms. Successful founders who have exited in their domain are the most valuable assets, and they are associated with these incubators, and they can offer a lot of value to a new founder in that particular domain. So these are some of the key advantages that supporting infrastructure brings in forms of incubators to the startups, or incubator facilities to startups if I may state. Then financial resources, again a challenge. It's not easy to raise funds in India. Uh, Now there is a concept of venture debt. As the startups have matured, they are seeking to raise debt instead of equity. Banks do not have the capabilities to provide debt because banks generally provide debt against certain collaterals such as properties and others. The startups do not have assets, lands, and buildings which they can offer as the properties. The startup founders are also mostly from general middle classes, so they cannot offer large collateral to the bank. Now, the experienced VC funds managers have the know-how how to assess the business model. If the company will be able to generate enough cash to repay back the EMIs in form of principals and interest. This knowledge is now coming up in form of venture debt fund managers where they assess the company. If the company will be able to generate enough cash flows to provide the EMIs, and they are able to pay debt. These debts are unsecured debts where collaterals are not required. And since these are unsecured debts, so the debt lender is taking a bit high risk, and the interest rate is a bit higher. So instead of taking an interest rate of 10%, these unsecured debts are taking interest rate of 15% or 16%. Generally, market norms is 15%. Anywhere around 15% unsecured debt from a commercial lender is good to go, and it offers a lot of advantages. Uh, Equity is very costly. If a company is valued 10 crore today and it raises 1 crore, so it is offering around 9% of its equity. Or if this company gets valued at 100 crore tomorrow, 9% is generally 9 crore. However, if somebody takes debt of 1 crore at 15% for 2 years, he ends up paying 30 lakhs. So instead of paying 9 crore, he's paying 30 lakhs. So that is why debt are more sought after, but debt is for the companies which have already scaled from point A to point B, where market is established, where the customers are having attraction, where there is enough visibility to cash, and that cash could be paid to suffice the EMIs, because the debt lenders have the first charge on the cash flows. If the company is not able to repay the debt, then the debt lenders can take assets, can take cash flows. Raising debt is at a stage when the company reaches Series B or C, and it's not generally at a very early stage. So these are the financial resources that India now offers and advantages of. We already talked about uh, government supporting in terms of financial resources as well. So now raising funds is much more simpler than what it was in 2012, 13, or even 2015. So we have almost covered the topics about how incubation facilities are helping students, they're helping faculties, they are helping the entrepreneurs. What are the key challenges? What are the key aspects that we may look into? I'll just briefly touch in, or I'll just briefly communicate about the business plan for the next we have, I believe, 8 minutes. We will cover it in much more detail, maybe in next session. But I'll just touch the key points over here. When we talk about, even if there's a very experienced founder, so even if our fund is raising a company for a startup which is an 11-year-old company, already generating enough revenue, has raised Series A funds or seed fund, if I may state, at least, and going for pre-Series A or not pre-Series A or Series A or Series B. And generally, the startups are for 10 years, post 10 years, for the startups are not uh, recognized as startup anymore. But we have recently seen a company into drone segment, which is about 11-year-old company, and now since drone economy is opening up, so they are getting some traction. Initial 7 years to 8 years, they're only focused on products, so they're not able to convey their story out. So money floats as a function of stories. If you're not able to sell a problem, uh, the buyer is not convinced that there is a gap which is being solved, and a pain point which is being solved, and therefore the product will find a market, and therefore the market will pay for that product, and the company will grow. So what I want to state is that there is a difference between an equity investment and a debt investment. For an equity investment, I'll touch first debt investment. For a debt investment, the company may have a revenue of 50 lakhs in this year. It may have a revenue of 52 lakhs the next year. The cash flow is 10 lakhs this year. The cash flow is 11 lakhs next year. There is not high growth, but it has taken debt, and if it has to pay 2 lakhs each year, it will be able to easily pay its debt and EMIs. So its company is a good candidate to raise venture debt. However, it's not a good candidate to take venture equity, because the return of an equity investor comes from the share price of of the equity, or if I may very simply state, the price per share. So if I purchase the share today at rupees 10, and if the price of that share is rupees 50 after 5 years, so I am able to sell the share 5 times of my current price. So I require an increase in share price. Now, if the company is seeing high demand, that demand gets translated into high growth of revenue. That high growth of revenue get translated into high profits. That high profit get translated into high cash flows. If we know that P&L are not getting too much details into financial valuation, where we have profit and loss statement, balance sheet, cash flows, and that. So if there is a high profitability, that profitability get translated into high cash flow, and that cash flow is then discounted, and the present value of the cash is the valuation of the company, and the total valuation of the company divided by total number of shares is per share price. So if the revenue growth potential is high, that means there is a high potential of getting good cash in future, and the present value of cash would be high. So the present valuation of the company would be higher, or the company may generate high valuation in future also, because of the consistent growth in cash. So the per share price may increase, and that is where the equity investor invest. Equity investor invest or they write a check if they can generate a decent return. If the share price goes up. So what I'm trying to highlight is that to attract an equity investor, it's very important to focus on certain aspects on the growth story of the pitch deck that we will see. So the first is the elevator pitch problem being solved. Uh, a very clear understanding of what is the problem which is being solved in the market, the vision and mission statement, how we are solving the problem, what are the mission statements, how we are breaking down the ultimate goal into different processes to solve that problem. We just have 3 more minutes. So, for example, if we are taking a very simple snacks company, the problem being solved could be affordable snacks for Indian consumers. The vision statement would be to provide good quality snacks to Indian consumers, and the mission statement could be to break down into segments such as if it's being launched in Northeast, then there would be a certain set of flavors in the food product which is launched in South. There is a separate taste over there in East or West. There is a separate taste. So how we are going to execute it, market and industry environment. What is the total population? If the total population of India is 100 crore, and 20 crore of people eat snacks, and they'll may eat even 5 snacks per year. So the market potential is 20 into 5, that is 100 times they'll purchase that snack. And if the snacks cost is only rupees 10, then the total market size become 1000. So just for an example, how we arrive at market. If the market size is not large, then the investor does not invest because the best companies take only 1% or 0.1% of the total market. So if the market size is, for example, 100 crore, so 1% is 1 crore. So the company will take 1 crore in 5 years. So if the market size is very small, then the company's chance to attain revenue is also very small. The market size may be very high. I'll just close it with last 2 minutes. Business model and sales and marketing strategy, how the customer is being achieved, is being reached, how the company is making it easy for the customer to purchase the product, how the marketing strategy on each of these slides. As we move forward, we have already now 4:15. We have covered about 45 minutes. It's been great interacting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for delivering the session and covering a lot of aspects in terms of innovation, entrepreneurship, and different opportunities available for students, faculties, and early stage entrepreneurs. As I said in the beginning, we will be having many more sessions with you on various topics.
Sure, Mr.
Yes, yes. So I would like to thank each one of you, those who have participated in today's session, students, my uh, fellow colleagues, and also Dr. Sunandan Barua sir, who is the Dean Research and Innovation of Countdown University. So I thank each one of you for taking your time and participating in this session. And also, I believe that we'll be having Jyoti Prakash sir again in the future with more analyzing and fruitful sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. It was a great opportunity to deliver this to the
Thank you.
student. And
Pleasure, pleasure, sir.
thank you.
Yes. With this, we conclude the session for today.